Hello everyone! Today we're going to explore Colonia del Sacramento, a historical gem in Uruguay that takes us back to the colonial era. Founded in 1680, this charming town is characterized by its rich blend of Spanish and Portuguese influences, evident in its well-preserved architecture and picturesque cobblestone streets. From the ruins of the convent to the impressive former Plaza de Toros, every corner tells a fascinating story. Colonia isn't just a place to learn about history. It's also an ideal destination to enjoy the natural beauty of the Rio de la Plata. So get ready to discover why Colonia del Sacramento is a must-visit destination in Uruguay. There we go! Colonia del Sacramento is located in Uruguay and was founded by the Portuguese in 1680 on the shores of the Rio de la Plata. It played a key role in the long-running dispute with the Spanish, lasting over 100 years until independence in 1825. The blend of colonial architectural styles and the careful preservation of the historic center led to its designation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. You can get there from Montevideo by car or bus in about 3 hours, and from Buenos Aires it's just an hour by ferry. The city gate, also known as the Portón del Campo, was built in 1745 by Portuguese governor Vasconcelos. It originally served as the entrance to the city, which was defended by a military fort against frequent attacks from both the Spanish and the English. It was rebuilt in 1970 respecting the original design and is accompanied by the drawbridge over the moat. A large part of the walls that once formed the Bastion of San Miguel still stand. The defensive steps and cannons are visible. In 1680, upon learning of the Portuguese arrival, Spanish governor José de Garro mobilized an army of 480 soldiers with support from local militias, indigenous people, and Jesuit priests. He sent detachments to locate the colony, and once found, Garro demanded that Manuel Lobo, the Portuguese governor, vacate the area by nightfall, warning that otherwise he would resort to armed force. Lobo defended his position by claiming he was acting under orders from his sovereign, but on August 7th, Spanish forces stormed Colonia in just an hour, capturing the fort, killing 125 Portuguese, and taking another 150 prisoner. After the victory, the Spaniards renamed the square Fort of Rosario, and Lobo was taken prisoner, dying in Buenos Aires 2 years later. However, this victory was short-lived, as Portuguese protests led to the signing of the Provisional Treaty of Lisbon in 1681, which returned Colonia to Portugal. This conflict marked the beginning of a series of confrontations in which the Spanish recaptured Colonia by force, while the Portuguese regained it through diplomacy. As you follow the coast, you'll come across a beautiful park that stretches along the river, full of trees offering shade and a refreshing breeze. From here, you can also see the ferries arriving at Colonia's port from Buenos Aires, a trip that takes about an hour. Plaza Mayor is a lively focal point in the historic district that highlights the city's rich cultural heritage. Once a site for military maneuvers and social gatherings, it also served as a marketplace for the slave trade. Today, The plaza is bordered by charming colonial buildings and features local artisans, as well as a variety of cafes and restaurants. We arrived early in the morning, so the artisans were just beginning to arrive and set up their stalls. In the background, the pink house with its gabled roof is a great example of Portuguese colonial architecture, while to its right, the white house with green doors showcases the Spanish style. La Calle de los Suspiros, that means the Street of Sighs, is a narrow Portuguese-style alleyway that's cobbled and lacks sidewalks, featuring the usual central drainage. It has buildings from the first half of the 18th century with stone walls, tiled roofs, and the classic small wooden doors and windows. The origin of the street's name is uncertain, but there are several theories. One suggests it refers to the brothels where sailors sighed for the prostitutes, while another indicates it comes from the size of the condemned who were taken there to be drowned in the river. At the main square, we came across an interesting parade of classic cars. We saw many of those in different places throughout our stay. The Convent of San Francisco was built in 1694, shortly after the city was founded, and was destroyed by a fire in 1704. Although its existence was brief, you can still see its stone walls, which are over a meter thick, and the foundation, creating a perfect backdrop against the white lighthouse built in 1845 on the ruins of the convent's old bell tower. That's why it has a square base that transitions to a cylindrical shape further up. It stands 26 meters tall, with a light range of 7.8 nautical miles. Originally, kerosene lamps were used, then acetylene gas, later electricity, and since 1997, solar panels have been added to power the lighting. Climbing the lighthouse is highly recommended for stunning views of the Rio de la Plata and the city, especially at sunset. The lighthouse is open to visitors from 10 a.m. until sunset around 6 p.m. However, during the summer months, closing time is often extended by a couple of hours, allowing visitors to enjoy the sunset for a bit longer. The ruins of the convent have become a must-see spot for tourists, offering a blend of history and scenery. With its melancholic atmosphere and romantic vibe, it is perfect for taking some pictures, which tourists absolutely love to do. Therefore, you may have to wait to take yours. The buildings, simple in size and appearance, showcase an interesting blend of Portuguese, Spanish, and post-colonial traditions. It's definitely worth wandering through the little streets, especially at sunset. Long shadows stretch across the cobblestone paths, and the warm sunlight paints the walls, bringing out the beauty of the landscape and creating a cozy vibe. Just be careful. Walking on these cobbled streets without twisting an ankle can be quite tricky. But when it comes to sunsets, it's so hard to choose a spot. This time we decided to stroll along the waterfront. It's undoubtedly one of the favorite places for both visitors and locals. The next morning, we headed to the old San Carlos bullring, located about 5 kilometers from the historic center. The bullring was part of a larger tourist complex envisioned by Argentine businessman Nicolás Mihanovic in the early 20th century. The project was led by architect Joseph Markovich and engineer Dupuy, featuring a neo-mudéjar design inspired by the bullrings of Spain at that time. Only 32 official bullfights were held before they were banned in 1912, with none resulting in the death of a bull due to local regulations. This sudden ban led to the venue's abandonment, causing the structure part of the ambitious tourist complex to fall into disuse and quickly deteriorate. By the mid-20th century, the bullring was transferred to local authorities, but the deterioration continued. Its grand architecture became a ruin, symbolizing the failure of a project once intended to be a major tourist attraction. The venue remained unused and decayed for over 100 years until restoration work began in 2019. In 2021, the plaza was fully revitalized and repurposed not for bullfights, but as a cultural and sports center that blends its historical legacy with modern functionality. Additionally, the plaza was declared a National Historic Monument in 1976, and its restoration has breathed new life into the space, transforming it into a venue for multiple events, marking the rebirth of this iconic site. The intervention focused on 1/3 of the area, while the remaining 2/3 were preserved as a testimonial space. The proposal included using the gallery or walkway as service areas for the activities in the ring, such as restrooms and elevators, and incorporated retail spaces, a convention hall, and a bullfighting museum. The metal framework, along with concrete blocks made from local materials, is one of the plaza's most distinctive features. It was designed in a Moorish style, inspired by traditional Spanish bull rings. The Plaza de Toros features a remarkable iron structure, brought from Germany in the early 20th century. This structure was assembled on site and was considered advanced engineering for its time, comparable to the ironwork of English railway stations. The German iron used was known for its durability, which has helped the plaza withstand the test of time despite significant deterioration due to lack of maintenance over the years. When we arrived, a stage was being set up for an upcoming political event, as this year Uruguay is holding its national elections. The drone allows us to clearly see the restored stands alongside those that have been kept in their original condition, serving as a reminder of the plaza's history. We really enjoyed our visit to the old bullring, so if you're around, it's definitely worth checking out. The tourist complex envisioned by Nicolas Mihanovic also included a large Basque pelota court, which still remains today. The game dates back to the 13th century in the Kingdom of Navarre. Mihanovic's project also included a wooden pier for the Vapor de la Carrera, a steamship that brought tourists from Buenos Aires, though today only its remains are left. Later, we returned to the historic neighborhood and explored some of its charming little streets. Here, we can identify the streets based on the design of each period. For instance, this one we're walking through, which features drainage on both sides, corresponds to the Spanish style. Remember that in contrast, the streets built by the Portuguese have a central drain that directs water toward the center of the street rather than towards the edges like in the Spanish. We stopped at one of the many cafes where you can enjoy some local specialties. The bread looked especially delicious, and its aroma of freshly baked was absolutely irresistible. Recent excavations have revealed, on the left side of the basilica, the ruins of the foundations of the governor's house, which, along with the church, were the main buildings in the city. It is an emblematic construction that was victim to multiple attacks during the conflicts between the Spanish and Portuguese. It was built in a strategic area that housed the Plaza de Armas. Although its exact date of construction is not known, it is considered one of the oldest buildings in the city. In 1777, under the reign of King Carlos III of Spain, the Savoy regiment invaded Colonia with the aim of expelling the Portuguese, attacking the governor's house until only its foundations remained. The Basilica del Sacramento is regarded as the oldest church in Uruguay, even though it has been rebuilt several times. It originally started as a modest ranch built in 1680, at the same time the city was founded. Over the years, it faced various partial destructions due to war conflicts, and in 1823, a lightning strike along with a Portuguese powder magazine inside the building led to much of the structure being destroyed. The car planter in front of El Drugstore restaurant and bar is a 1949 Citroën. This unique vehicle has been sitting on the street as a large planter since at least 2013, according to the oldest photos we've been able to verify. It has become a quirky attraction for visitors passing through the historic district of Colonia del Sacramento. The Bastion of Carmen was constructed by the Portuguese governor Vasconcelos, reclaiming land from the water. It was one of the 4 bastions that defended the walls of the old Colonia del Sacramento. After these disputes ended, it served as a factory and had various uses over the years until it was ultimately transformed into a cultural center. This center features a performance hall, exhibition space, and a theater, blending the restoration of existing buildings with new structures. The chimney is a prominent feature of the structure, standing as a reminder of the site's industrial past. It dates back to 1880 when the bastion was converted into a factory for glue and soap. It remains a key architectural highlight of the site. The size and solidity of this structure are remarkable. These qualities led to the establishment of an important English-owned industry, the Karolo Factory, in the late 19th century. The factory produced soap adhesives and other goods. It later became a warehouse for wool and leather, as well as a storage facility for local fruits and vegetables. The large property even had its own dock facilitating imports and exports by river. At the end of this journey through Colonia del Sacramento, we have not only explored its rich history and unique architecture, but also felt the echoes of the cultures that have left their mark in every corner. If you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. Your support helps us continue creating new content. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!